welcome to ground, where you can come home, become your own medicine, and meet life from your own stable ground. My name is Ro Marlen. I'm a medicine woman in the European wise woman tradition, a medical intuitive and embodiment mentor, and I've spent the last 25 years showing people how to heal and fulfill their soul's calling. Today in ground, this week, I'd love to talk about how energy blockages, right, are formed and what we can do to dissolve them. And then after that, we will have a practice. Okay. So how are energy blockages formed? How is that what we call or experience as, maybe feel as a blockage? I feel stuck, I feel blocked, right? Or we've experienced that in maybe in acupuncture or in energy healing and massage, a body work or other helper has shown us that you seem to have a block here, right? What is that? You know, what we're sensing, what we're feeling, what maybe we're hearing or trying to understand, and what is that? Where does it come from? What can we do about it, right? So when we're talking about energy and then blocks, we want to talk in the forms of a flow of energy and a contraction, right? So a tension. If it's a blockage, then it is, you can say it's like a frozen part of energy. Now, this energy period, right, is, we're just going to call life force energy. There are many different names for it in all the different languages. I believe just about every language, or every language that I know of, and I certainly don't know them all, right, have a word for or understanding of life force energy. Some names that you may be familiar with or may have heard before are chi, ki, prana, right? Maybe even heard of kundalini, right? These are all terms that are meaning the same thing, and that is that life force energy, that energy that enlivens, that inhabits, and that what is makes you, right? Makes the tree, and that not just an enlivenment, but life, yeah, in all things. We can say a type of consciousness, right? But right now we're just going to stay with enlivenment and life force, right? That what enlivens us. So in this life force energy enlivens your body, enlivens you, right? You possess, you inhabit this body and live through it. And so just like the blood flows through your body, the lymph flows through your body, electrical impulses flow through your body, are moving through your body, so too does that life force energy, right? Now, your life force rises and can be experienced as emotion, right? Because it rises, life rises to meet circumstances and situations that are happening outside, right? In response to, right? And life force also comes up and rises into expression, right? That is the way of nature. In spring, the energy is rising from the earth and rising up, moving up through the trees and quickening and enlivening the seeds to move up and grow, come into expression and bloom and fruit. And the same is in our bodies, right? Spring, that energy rises up in us. That energy has been rising in you since you were a fetus, right? An embryo, receiving that spark of life, and then that spark sparks and spark plugs all of a sudden sparked that life, the cells to begin multiplying, and that creation to happen, right? That body to grow and develop. And then at birth, right? We spoke last week about the incarnation process, right? Began touching, tasting, attaching to, and beginning to come into and inhabit. So that life force is coming into and inhabiting this small animal human, right? This small animal body. And then as an impulse, right, a need arises, let's say it's hunger, right? A need arises in that freshly born baby human, arises hunger. And the little human starts looking for food, right? Starts rooting for the nipple. And the energy is rising. Hunger, hunger. It's not finding, right? Hunger gets more dringent, more urgent, right? If that need is not being met, right, for whatever reason, that need is not being met at that moment, that life force energy is rising and becoming more and more urgent because it's coming, it just needs to express, and there's a need that needs to be fulfilled in this small human animal, right? And so it's not being fulfilled. It's not getting, for whatever reason, again, not getting fed. That need is not getting met. What happens is this life force energy will turn in its urgency to survival energy, right? And we've all, or most of us, have heard of the when the body shifts into survival, right? Fear is activated. Then our fight or flight responses kick in, right? Which is super important and life important, right, to us. And in that undeveloped, immature system of this human animal baby, that energy is not developed and doesn't know where to go, right? And it can't express, it can't do anything to get. And so it comes to a point where if that need is consistently not fulfilled, it's not getting what it needs, then that system will just collapse, right? It'll kind of move into freeze, right? If fight or flight or the survival energy can't express, can't be moved through the body and do what it needs to do, then it will just collapse, right? So in this freezes that survival energy, right, underneath it. And there we have that first blockage, right? What we can consider a block. Block then is life force energy that arose and could not be expressed, right? For whatever reason. And then our system, right? It just became bigger and bigger and bigger. It was overwhelming. It was so big then, yeah, that tiny body couldn't hold it, had nowhere to go and nothing to do because it's in an immature system, and so it froze, right? And so that block, that frozen energy stays with us in a system of the body or in a part of the body. And especially when it was such a tiny body, right? That in such early development, it has no logic, right? It has no cognitive understanding, no thoughts or decisions about it. It is simply a foundational belief, right? What we would call today one of those beliefs, right? It's not a cognitive belief. It's not something I think, but simply a response to hunger not fulfilled, frozen, or collapse and then frozen, right? This frozenness, this block, we will call a trauma. Trauma is not the event, yeah, that happened. Yeah, it's not the circumstance, not the situation, not the actual event, but our body's response, and not just our body, as our energy, right? Our energy bodies and our physical body's response to an event. Right? It's that frozen, it's that block, right? So as we grow and develop, we have these, and they get compounded, right? In other situations where we have, can be all the ways, right? First of all the ways that the world tells us, teaches us what we must do, how we must be, what we have, our strategies and behaviors that we need to develop, yeah, to get our needs met, right? How we manipulate the world, right? Or are quiet and hide. This is a personality developing out of simply looking to get our needs met. And these are not wants and desires. Again, this is a burning needs, burning human, animal, primal needs, right? And so we will have many of these, right? Energy rising, not being able to express, right? For simply because, right, we humans have so many ideas about how to raise humans, right? What to do with human animals, how we handle our human babies, right? There are all the other mammals, right? All the other mammals on the planet raise their young in ways that are right and healthy for them in a natural animal environment, right? When they're born, they get the nourishment they need, they get the body contact they need. When they have a need, right, it gets met. Because if it doesn't, then the animal, the bear, right, doesn't survive, right? Only we humans have separated ourselves from nature, from the nature that we are, right? Our animalness in that sense, that we are our ground. Yeah. So much so that we hold so many of these blockages in our own bodies, right, that we are not so able to meet the needs of our young, right? With all of the ideas and this incredible, wonderful brain that we have, right? Our higher cognitive functions, that we live in a way that we separate ourselves from our animalness, from our ability to allow that life force to move up in us and through us in the way that it was meant to, right? As we grow and develop, this life force moving up through us is experienced then also as emotion, right? When we have a pure, clear, channel, let's just say, pure and clear channel where that energy in us can rise and meet a situation, or just rise and meet the spring, rise and meet, come out and be expressed in its clarity and purity, right? As the pure force that it is. That is when we are, you can say, living what we're here to do, right? We're living in flow. When the energy rises up and meets one of those blockages, right? That is when it's going to feel, right? I don't want to say negative, right? Because when I'm talking about energy, when I'm talking about emotions, there's a preconceived notion that we have positive emotions and negative emotions, right? When this clear energy rises, to meet a situation or circumstance, it is simply that life force energy. And that life force energy may be rising because a boundary is being overstepped, right? Boundaries are being violated. And that energy rises up with a strong no, right? It's a protective energy that rises up to strengthen the boundaries that we have and say no. Right? That is a healthy aggression, right? And aggression does not equal anger. Aggression does not equal violence. It's simply a healthy upward and protective movement, right? And strong movement that we can say is healthy aggression, right? And we are so first conditioned and have these blocks in us that are so disconnected, right, from nature and our ability to allow that energy to move through us in strong and healthy ways, right, that they are then experienced as more, I'm going to say, toxic, right, instead of negative. Right? Maybe a toxic aggression is going to be experienced as anger, a destructive anger, right? So this too, that experience is also a block. So how do we work with it and how do we get rid of it? how do we dissolve it, as I say, right? Because we've got these things, if we've got this in here and it's blocking my flow of energy, then I want my energy to flow freely, right? I want that clear and pure energy to rise up and move through me, right? As the healthy aggression, right? Healthy movement, as passion, as joy, as vitality, right? As integrity. Yeah, I want that, right? So there are many techniques that are focused on and developed specifically for dissolving blockages, right? For you've got lots of breath work there, trauma release, mental based techniques that we use to dissolve and resolve foundational beliefs, some of these belief patterns and structures, and trauma to release that. You have to feel it to heal it, right? Say often. And in my experience, my learning of actually more than 25 years of working with people is yes and, right? If you want to dissolve that trauma, if you want to allow that life force energy to truly move through you and come into expression, then we have to have space to hold that emotion, right? That energy. We have to have space inside. We have to have the bandwidth. We have to have capacity to hold that energy, right? And so we can, if we go in, right, and let's say we're going to surgically remove it, right? We're just going to cut it out. Try to, right? We can go in, lean into the anger or the fear or the pain, whatever it is, right? Into that survival energy and breathe through it and maybe have a cathartic response, right? Have a feeling, oh, afterwards exhausted. Oh, and then a sense of relief, right? And what will also happen is within a few days or within a few weeks, right, that pressure begins to build back up, right, there at the spot. So it's almost like that blockage reforms. And from what I've seen and what I've experienced and the people I've worked with, this happens more often than not. Yeah, because there are a few things that can happen there. If we move in directly, whoosh, go in for the catharsis, right? We're going to do the breath work and deep dive into that unprepared, right? Then often what happens is it just blows us apart. Yeah. It blows us apart and we can fragment because of that, because the emotion that we go into is so big and so overwhelming that we actually cannot stay with it, right? It can be so big, so traumatic that we can't stay with it. Another part, right? Another part is that the structures that were built around this, that formed around this block, right, that is actually holding it in place, right, are still there. They are still there. And it's almost like we can go in and remove it and think that we're removing it, right? But the structures that are in place will actually call that back into being, right? It's almost like you have the little microbes that are still there that then begin to grow because that's the environment that's there, right? So with these structures in place, we have to first gain the capacity to hold whatever that energy is that is in the block. Right? We have to gain capacity to hold that energy and allow it to be felt, right? To liberate it so that it can move freely in our field. Right? Because we don't want to go in and get rid of that energy, right? It's not a negative. If we're getting rid of it, we're taking something away, or think we are, right? At the most first, we can disperse some and get some relief, right? For it to then build back up, right? Or it will form back. So what is that saying? Energy cannot be lost, right? In the same is here. We can't take away something. We can bring balance into, we can bring a little relief, but the energy that's here wants to stay here, and it's inherent and it does stay here. We don't want to get rid of life force energy just because it's stuck and doesn't feel good, right? The reason it doesn't feel good is because of that lived experience and what it's associated with, right? But in its essence, it is just energy. And so we want to gain capacity to hold that and feel that as the pure energy that it is, right? That is how we dissolve the block, dissolve, heal the trauma, and allow that energy to be freely moving in our body, further enlivening us, having that energy accessible so that we can be in expression. Okay. Yes. Yeah. The energy has to come up and out. And when it's too big, overwhelm, then yes, dissociation. We will separate from that. Right? Beautiful. So I would love to, if you have any questions or would love or would like for me to expand on any of the subjects, which I will be doing in the weeks to come, right? With everyone, there's always a short bite-sized bits, right? And I will be happy to expand on and deepen into any other subject in these bite-sized bits. So feel free to either, if you're watching the recording, write under a comment underneath. You can send me an email as well. Okay. Then I would love to invite you to move into a comfortable position, because this practice today, we are going to, in all of the practices, always here, we're practicing to gain capacity, right? These are all foundational practices, whatever the practices are. And today we will be just expanding into that, again, basic orienting, touching, tasting, feeling our bodies, right? This is how we gently, little bit by little bit, gain capacity to hold that big energy that's frozen in us, right? So that we can be with it, no matter how big it and how overwhelming it might feel right now. Okay. So I'd love to invite you now to, in whatever position you are, to let's first notice your weight, right? Notice your weight in all the parts of your body that are resting on a surface, right? So if you're lying down, you feel your weight on your sit bones, right? On your back, the back of your head, under your feet. If you're sitting up, maybe you feel the surface beneath your feet, beneath your thighs and your sit bones, maybe under your arms. And just notice your weight on that surface. Notice all the parts of your body that are touching a surface and how that feels. Now I invite you to notice your breath without changing it, without shifting your breath. Just notice your breath. Where is breath moving to, and where is it moving from? Where is it moving to, and where is it moving from? And how does the rest of your body respond to you noticing your breath? Right? How does the rest of your body respond when you notice your breath? And just noticing, is the breath shallow? Is it deep? Is it regular? And just noticing, there's no right or wrong, simply noticing and allowing. And allowing breath to be as it is. Allowing breath to exist as it is. Allowing feeling of that weight on the surface. And now I want to invite you to notice your eyes, notice your eyeballs. Just bringing your attention to your eyeballs and noticing how are they resting in their sockets. Oh, how are my eyeballs resting in my sockets? D. How are my eyeballs resting in their sockets? And again, feeling your weight. On your back, on your sit bones of your body that are touching and resting on a surface. And now I invite you to notice the temperature of the air as it moves through your nose. Noticing the temperature of the air as it moves through your nose, both on the inhale and the exhale. Inhale and the exhale. And now I want to invite you to just notice the sounds around you. Noticing the sounds in the room around you. And maybe hear sounds outside of the room that you're in. Maybe even outside the building. Just expanding your awareness to hear the sounds around you. And then noticing the temperature of the air on your skin. And now noticing the fabric of your clothes on your body. Just noticing your clothes on your body. And again, feeling your eyeballs and noticing how are they resting in their sockets. How are my eyeballs resting in their sockets? And I want to invite you to move your attention to your earlobes. Just noticing your earlobes, seeing if you can feel your earlobes without touching them. How can you notice your earlobes? Maybe you can sense your earlobes or where they are. Now I want to invite you to notice your jaw. And I want to invite you to notice any tension in your jaw. And not changing, not moving to release it, just noticing if there's tension in your jaw. Just noticing that state of contraction or relaxation. Just becoming aware of your jaw and allowing that to exist. And feeling your weight on the surface beneath you. Feeling your body rest on the surface beneath you. Maybe inviting your body to settle into the surface you're resting on. And what do you notice there? How does the rest of your body respond to the invitation to settle? Right? Notice your breath. How does breath breathing now? Notice the temperature of your skin. And notice your jaw. And notice your eyeballs. How are they resting in their sockets? And is it the same or different as before the invitation to settle arose? And again, all the responses, reactions, or lack of, everything's allowed. Just noticing the impulses and responses of your body. Settling, body settling. I want to invite you now to invite your eyes, invite your eyeballs to settle into their sockets. Inviting your eyeballs to settle into their sockets. And here too, what do you notice? How does your body respond? How does breath respond? How does your heart rate respond? It's the temperature of your skin. Maybe you notice your belly. And noticing your weight. Allowing your body to settle. Settling into gravity. Settling into gravity. Allowing gravity to hold you and support you. And noticing how deeply your body settles or sinks and rests into the surface beneath it. With the same force, gravity rises up to meet your body, rises up to meet you and hold you and support you. Right? Each force is met. And we can allow our life force enlivening this body to settle down. And the life force, the gravity of planet Earth rises up to meet us. How does that feel? What do you notice? And again, there's no right or wrong. No right or wrong. Simply noticing what is our body's responses? How does it react to settling, to resting, to sinking into and at your body? This is how we gain capacity. This is how we begin to inhabit and embody. This is how we can continue with the intention to complete our incarnation process. Beautiful. So, and now I'd love to invite you to just very gently and just a little bit to open your eyes. Just open them up just a little bit and peek out. Notice how it feels to look out of your eyes. And as you're looking out of your eyes, I want to invite you to find a comfortable and familiar object to focus on. Right? And to focus on that familiar object. Has very good memories associated with it, good feelings associated with it. Now feeling your weight, feeling your body, feeling gravity still holding and supporting you. Okay. Noticing your breath. Noticing how your breath is responding, how your heart rate's responding to your eyes open and focused on that comfortable object. Now I want to invite you to just very slowly and very smoothly scan the space around you. So moving your eyes to one side, just very tiny movements, very slow. And then in the other direction, slowly and smoothly. Noticing your body's responses to that. Feeling your weight, feeling your breath. Hearing all the sounds around you. Maybe you can hear my frogs in my background. Yeah, just noticing. Looking around. Now orienting yourself into this space. Hearing, seeing, feeling your body. Beautiful. And now I'd love to invite you to now move into the rest of your day from this space. Thank you for joining me here in this space to find and return to your ground, to gain ground. Find that stable ground for yourself. Thank you. I love you. I hope to see you next week.